And if you would like to join us on Zoom, you can go to the town website. And our webinar ID is 894-8156-7866. Do we have any public comment?
No hands raised online?
No hands raised, no one in the building. Approval of minutes. We're going to start with March 17th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we accept.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Was there discussion? Did you send me an email? I feel like somebody sent me an email about the meeting minutes.
The last minute, the last meeting, not,
Okay,
I did nothing on the old ones.
okay.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. No further discussion. All those in favor of adopting the meeting minutes from March 17th, say aye.
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 Abstain?
No, and then abstentions. Okay. May 7th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of May 7th?
I'll move we accept.
All right, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's 3. Any opposed? And then I'm going to abstain. 2 abstentions. And then finally, May 21st. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of May 21st?
Alexis, we didn't have a quorum at that meeting, so should we even be voting on it?
My understanding is the first part of the meeting, there was a quorum,
There was, yes.
so we can accept those
As-
minutes up until we had no quorum.
Gotcha.
And then the rest should just be, if there are more, sorry, I didn't look at them. If there are more, they should just be indicated as notes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I kind of, as you know, went off script once Mary left. We covered a bunch of stuff, and I need a bunch of stuff. So that's actually good. To that point, I think that's, yeah.
So do I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 21st?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I think the part, Elizabeth, that I had talked to was actually took place as part of the notes, correct?
Correct, I see it now.
And so the thing that I had commented on was the housing roundtable. And just, I was thinking, depending on how expansive that was supposed to be, it was sort of, I was thinking, well, thinking about all boards and commissions that would have something to do with housing was sort of the way the conversation was referred to. And so I was just thinking also the Board of Health, or, because often they get involved with all the requirements for housings and whatever. That was one. And then the other thing, I was just wondering, as we keep talking about housing and sort of the services that we're trying to provide and how we provide it, at some point is, sort of human services, sort of, do they get involved at some point, or is that something that they should be getting more involved in, simply because I know we get questions about, well, what about, as long as we have affordable housing, what kind of services are we able to provide these folks, and what, what sort of fees and fines should they not have to pay, or there's sort of that whole, sort of the connecting. I think that's also gets to the notion of how much connectivity do we really do in the town, which I think we often, to be honest, don't do very well. In terms of the silos, the way we sort of begin to look at things. And if this was an opportunity to sort of say to anybody who has anything to do with sort of trying to diversify the population of the town, then that would suggest to me that they should also be included. So I
Any
think that's
further
more a
discussion?
point than anything else.
Yeah, no, I'll just make a comment about that. I think that's a very noble comment, and I would agree with you completely. I just think right now we're such the infant stages, trying to put this round table together. I just want to be careful that we don't get too many people involved. That's,
And I think that has to do with how we scope it as we begin to discuss it. But I think that was just, that jumped out at me as an opportunity to be thinking about how if and how it should be expanded.
I-
So
I-
And Mary, I think we'll really look for your guidance. Well, we can talk about this later, but I think we'll really look for your guidance going forward as the select board continues to go through board and committee charges and making sure they're aligned, bringing back that feedback on who should be at the table when.
Yep. Thank you. For any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes from May 21st?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay, so in favor, 2 opposed? Just, are you in favor, Tom?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I have my
Okay,
hand
so
up.
3.
Yep, I was a little late.
And no opposed, abstentions? 2. All right, so I have first set of minutes, 2 approve, 0 opposed, 2 abstentions. Second set of minutes, Mary, did you, or sorry, Mary. Susan, did you vote on the first set for March 17th?
I did,
In favor, opposed,
in
abstention?
favor.
Okay, so that should be 3 in favor. And so 302, 302, 302. Okay. Yes, Mallory?
I'm just saying I'm here too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so when we're voting, feel free,
No, we have to do roll
we have to
call.
do roll call, so are you starting, Mallory?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Maybe we could retake the vote. on-
Mallory, in favor for March 17th, opposed or abstain?
In favor for both.
March 17th,
March 17th in favor.
okay? Susan?
In favor, yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Mallory, May 7th?
In favor, yes.
Susan?
Yes.
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 Mary Wright abstain.
And Mallory, May 21st?
Yes.
In favor, Susan?
Yeah, abstain. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Mary Wright, aye.
And I abstain. Okay, so 402, 402, 402.
Thank you, sorry.
All right, moving on to the trust statement. Is that one of yours? I don't have a trust.
Yeah, so these kind of got combined into I guess the third document in your packet. We had talked about, as opposed to me giving a sort of rundown, or us generally going through a rundown of all of our different projects and programs, instead using this monthly housing update newsletter that I had been sending out, retooling it a little and having it work both as an update to the community as well as regular reporting to the trust, just to help streamline. So this is my sort of first try at how to revamp this to meet those objectives. I tried to hit some of the major actions that happened over the last month, highlight some upcoming training opportunities, because I know we've talked about putting that together for the board, for those of us who are not just onboarding, but continue to want to stay up to date and connected. And then using the metrics that are in our 10-year housing plan, pulling some of those out and highlighting them here that can be updated on a regular basis for the board. And of course, should we have more to discuss on any of these programs, we could put them on as a separate agenda item. But please give me your feedback. Let me know what you think. Again, these metrics came from the 10-year housing plan, but that does not mean we couldn't add or adjust other ones going forward. So happy to take the board's feedback.
Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think first blush at it, I really like it. And like you had commented at the last meeting, that you have to get this done anyways, and why not streamline it so you're not doing double work, one for our meeting and one for some of the stuff that you're doing already anyways. I really think it makes a lot of sense to do it.
Right. And it's not that we have to, but I know when, for the planning board as well, they like to report out at their second meeting of the month of, sort of updates, housing updates. They have a number of other members, for example, who sit on other committees and then report back. So I think just, to our previous discussion, this is a great way to try to keep the same information circulating amongst all the different boards and committees, so they could just stay updated in terms of what's happening in the field of housing in and around. So yes, so in addition to sending this to the trust, and again, we can tailor it going forward, and to the planning board, this would get distributed to all other boards and committees that would be sitting on a future roundtable as well.
Other comments or questions? Mary?
What would be helpful, I think, is to see this more as month to month.
Right.
Because, and to sort of be able to also have something which says,
Oh, I see.
for example, for the new ADUs, okay, so be able to show how many new ADUs, and if we have sort of, you know, again, is there some number that we think would be great to eventually get to? Same thing with households served by the rental assistance program. I mean, I think there's also the thing of, okay, so that's 14, is that up or down?
Yep.
And sort of, what's the, I always, when I look at data, it's like, it's the so.
Right.
Um,
Context.
Right, what's the context? And so again, is that more or less than it was? Is there, you know, what's the and? And I think, again, the short-term rental listings, you know, the thing is to also understand how many there were last year at the same time. And is that making, what's happening? So I think that this is a nice snapshot, but I don't think it tells me much about change, progress. You know, again, it's that notion of, are these good or bad numbers? And I have no idea if those are good or bad numbers.
Excellent feedback. We can make that adjustment.
Okay.
So is it actually three things then? Is it kind of where we are now, a year to date, and then a comparison to last year? I almost heard like three.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do that, yeah. So,
And that may be that that's for us, but I also think, you know, if I got this from the planning, as a planning board member, I would have, I say this to this is not a unique thing for me to say. It's a so what number? So I just think it's helpful to have the perspective,
No, it's-
yeah.
right, so if the three things are where we are now, comparison to where we've been, and what are we moving towards?
Yep,
Got it.
yep.
Excellent.
Other comments or questions? All right, we're moving on to the rental assistance report.
Again, incorporated into here, we are at 13 households served, which I do believe fully subscribes our program.
13 or 14?
14. Does it say 13?
No, you said 13.
So
Oh, I said 13. I think because 14, that we are technically at 13 and we have one application. in
Awesome.
progress. Sorry.
Great.
Yes, we did. I should let the board know, in terms of program guidelines, in talking with housing assistance staff, and happy to get your feedback on this. We had one applicant apply where the difference between their income and 30% of the income was a very small number. It was like $10 that they would be getting in rental assistance. So we looked at what other programs were doing and how it was being administered in other places. And per the recommendation of housing assistance, I think we're going to update our program guidelines to say that the minimum need is $50 a month going forward, just to make sure, because there are obviously some administrative costs that go into serving each one of those. We want to make sure we're using our dollars in a meaningful way. So that is an adjustment that we've made to our program guidelines. Here.
Any other comments or questions on rental assistance? All right, let's move over to 22 Old Tote Road. Declaration of surplus and central register posts.
Yes, progress on 22 Old Totes. So we've been engaged in back and forth with council, both at housing assistance as well as with Murphy Hesse, our council, for the town and have advised that prior to disposition of the property, we do need to check these boxes in terms of declaring this property surplus. I know we bought it for the purposes of affordable housing, but under the guidelines for buying and selling public property, the board does need to vote to make this declaration of surplus. I believe the select board will have to vote to make this as well. So the attorney asked if I could read through this briefly, which I will do, and then ask for a vote of the board. As of Friday, I guess as of Monday and publication of our packets, we were still going forward on final language of the purchase and sale agreement, as well as the 2 deed restrictions. We have drafts thanks to the Shared Regional Housing Service Office and the technical assistance that they provide the town on an annual basis. One of the things that I asked for technical assistance on was an 80% deed restriction is very standard. There's a standard form for that, but 120% deed restriction is not. And in fact, we have one of the first ones in the region. So they've provided us both clean and red line versions to provide to EOHLC for approval going forward. We have talked to them about how we're going to monitor these units, because once it's not just getting the deed restriction in place, it's making sure that, and not just getting a qualified tenant in place, but making sure that tenant remains qualified. So we will work with the Shared Regional Housing Service Office on monitoring. Right now, most of their monitoring is contracted to housing assistants, so that you cannot be the owner, hold the restriction and monitor the restriction. I do not think that this is the last time they're going to have this issue come up. So we'll look at, again, the town will be the monitoring agent, but we will contract with somebody else for that monitoring going forward. So that's the next piece of the package we will have. But for today, we have the declaration of surplus. I'll just run through again very quickly what this says. A background on the property that you, as board members, are holders of this property, and that we are finding that the land and buildings are surplus to the trust's needs, and that we do intend to enter into a purchase and sale and sell the property to Housing Assistance Corporation for the sum of $1. Currently, the property consists of 4 separate units, 2 of which are existing second-floor residential apartments, and 2 of which are first-floor commercial units, and they will be converted to residential apartments. And on a floating basis, 1 apartment will be LIP eligible. And so what this means is it won't always be the same apartment that is the 80% unit. It could be any of the 4 units within the building, which works because they are comparable. But we call this, when we say a deed restriction floats within a development, it means it can move from any unit. This is a huge benefit because if you have a holder who becomes over income and they no longer qualify to stay in there, they don't have to move out of that particular unit. We can essentially just take the deed restriction and assign it to somebody else in the development. So these will be floating and LIP eligible, also meaning the unit will count on our subsidized housing inventory, so count towards our 10% that we are required to have under Chapter 40B. And under Chapter 40B, if you have at least 25% of the units, 1 in 4, that is LIP eligible, you get to count all 4 of those units on the SHI. So we have talked to the LIP coordinators up at the state, and they've assured us that even though in the process of moving forward, these units, all 4 units, will be LIP eligible, will be on our SHI going forward. And again, that they will be permanently deed restricted for individuals and households not making more than 80%. Again, that's the LIP eligible unit. And that a second unit will be permanently deed restricted for individual or households earning not more than 120% of the area median income, and the 2 remaining units will be unrestricted.
Did that change?
could, I mean, it could change in that they could become restricted.
Right.
But yes, and so there were edits to this language saying that they would be permanent market rate residential apartments, and that has been edited to reflect that they are currently market rate residential apartments. And again, by market rate, we mean not without restrictions on them.
Are there other, are there current floating units on the Lower Cape?
I'm sure there are, yes. Very common for units to float.
But our first, like, we don't have any at Penrose, we don't have any at,
Penrose is 100% affordable.
Right.
So
we haven't done any type of mixed yet, so this would be the first.
I'm sort of mentally running through our SHI. We have one other sort of odd local action project like this, also on Old Tote Road. That unit might float, but I've done a number of LIP eligible deed restrictions with floating units. It's not uncommon.
No, I know. It's exciting for us that this, I think, is the first one. I haven't heard about it with the other Old Tote.
No, yeah, the other Old Tote one was, again, totally a private, what we call a
Right.
local action unit, and that's been occupied by a long-term tenant. I've actually been talking to that property owner recently. And again, most of our other units on our SHI are either owned by the housing authority, vast majority are owned by the housing authority, or they're 100% restricted. Rock Harbor Village, which is also POA, Penrose, which is
Yeah.
fair.
Fran?
Yeah. So I understand that if somebody is in one of the rent regulated apartments and their income exceeds the max, they can stay, and the limitation shifts to another apartment.
Correct.
Now, what would happen to their rent, though?
Their rent would be adjusted to whatever the
To the
market rate rent
Market rate.
would
Now,
be.
in the case that, and frankly, we all hope that everybody has this problem, all of them exceed
Yeah.
80% or 120%, what happens then?
Well, they.
This goes full, can it go 100%? Or does that one of those people
No,
have
so
to
there will
leave?
always have to be somebody who is in that band of income eligibility for the 80%, and always have to be somebody who is in that band of income eligibility for 120%.
So in that case, one or two people would have to find somewhere else to live.
Yes, I mean, there are obviously, you don't just cut off somebody's lease when they get a raise. There are considerations, and again, a minimum period of time in which notice you have to give them prior. But yes, I mean, it does happen in that if you become over income, and there are not other opportunities, then you are no longer eligible for those units.
Thanks.
How much notice does someone get where they'd have to move?
So it will be in our deed restriction, and I should know this off the top of my head. I want to say it's a 6-month notice, or if it's not automatically a 6-month notice, that you can essentially apply and get up to 6 months of notice. Like you could get an extension, I believe.
So
And there is a certain there is some certain wiggle room in there that they give you, again, so it's not like if you're $5 over income, then you're out. I do believe there's a percentage that they will give you for a certain period of time.
You're not evicted tomorrow.
Right, so if you notch over income, I do think it's tiered, and I'm sorry, we will get you this information, and it will be in the deed restriction. But yes, if you're over income, then there's a certain period of time, and then there's a certain percentage, I think it's 140, if you're making 140%, then that time shortens.
Fran?
This is a broader issue,
Yeah.
but I think this is a great opportunity to kind of focus on the idea, and that is that in these circumstances where we're basically investing a large amount of money in acquiring the property and then handing it off to Housing Assistance Corp. for $1, essentially, we get enough, we don't ever see that money again. And I understand our objectives, but over time, frankly, I don't think that this kind of expenditure is tenable for the type of ambitions that we have, unless we begin to find ways to generate some money coming back. And in a circumstance like this, could we make part of an agreement or propose to make part of an agreement of transfer for $1 to Housing Assistance Corp., that at the time that this property is ever sold, we receive some percentage of the appreciation
Equity.
in the future? It comes back to Orleans. And it's nothing that HAC, I don't think they should protest, and if anything, it makes us more able to plan for doing these types of things.
Right. I mean, so I will say that this is a very unique project. It's even had the folks at the Shared Regional Housing Service have told me that, that this is a unique project. I think it's a good question. I think there's an opportunity here that you wouldn't have in a traditional project that is 100% affordable to have that conversation. So I have posed that question to the housing group. Nobody had an answer for me, but we'll continue to look at it and keep it on the table should opportunities like this arise. I know at least our council, when we were talking about it, and there was obviously some strong resistance to having this conversation at this point for this project. But if not sort of an equity return on sale, would we ever want to write a first refusal? The ability, if they did sell it, to be able to purchase it back and, add additional deed restrictions on the property. So, again, something to think about. Should we ever do another project like this?
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
I'm just going to finish reading because I was advised to make sure we got all of this on the record. Again, we bought the property for a fair market value of $484,000 in December of 2025. The 2024 assessed value by the town was $488,000, with the town at $488,900. We did get an appraisal on the property for $500,000. So benefit to the town, we assembled a request for proposals in 2025 to solicit qualified developers and property managers to convert the property to 4 rental units. Housing Assistance was the only bidder and proposed to acquire the property for $1 and invest another $474,000 into the property to achieve the objectives of the RFP. The value that the town will receive will be to convert the property into 4 units of permanent rental housing in the commercial heart of town, and that 2 units will be deed restricted to families earning not more than 80% AMI and 120% AMI, and that those 4 units will remain rentals. The conversion, construction, financing, and ongoing property management will be accomplished by Housing Assistance, who is a prominent, well-regarded, and responsible affordable housing developer. In conclusion, with real estate prices on Cape Cod at unprecedented levels, we were very fortunate to be able to bring this project together and create and permanently restrict 4 rental units, and have every confidence that Housing Assistance will be able to execute its plan in a timely and professional manner. Thank you.
Another question. I know we touched on this at the last meeting. Forgive me, I can't remember the numbers exactly, if they were all laid out. And I know that they had planned to keep the rents low for the market-based apartments. What is the total monthly rent expected for the 4 units?
What the total monthly rent expected was, I believe, $2,000 a unit, $2,000 a month.
So it was $8,000 for the 4.
Correct.
$96 a year. And expected taxes on this property, do we know that?
Yes, so I could tell you based on the property tax card, but then they do get a consideration on the fact that the value is restricted because of the affordability restrictions. So I could look at what it was assessed at last year, but it would be hard knowing that going forward, considering it was a commercial and residential assessment. But yes, it will continue to be a taxable property in the future.
I'm just curious what, I'm trying to figure out, I think HAC is getting a good deal.
Yeah, yes, I think that's the,
But
that's the
what
hope.
which brings me back, and I know that I've been whining about this, but I think we should be more aggressive across the board in when we're working with some of these outfits, particularly when we have and I know that we're in you said this is unique property, and I'm curious, I know you send out a request for proposals, you got one bidder. Do you have any conversations about why we're interested but we'll pass, or anything like that?
I didn't. I mean, I can only speculate in that the dealing in deed restricted property is a specialized skill set to most landlords out there. The requirement to deed restrict property, to have to do a lottery for tenants, to be subject to ongoing monitoring requirements, I think are not something that traditional landlords are used to getting themselves into. So does we did have a number of inquiries from, local companies, I think, that own and manage property. And while no, we didn't follow up, I think it was my guess is that the deed restrictions are a barrier to investment, and the idea that you are going to be limited in perpetuity to the amount that you can earn on a property going forward.
Yeah. Can I just have a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've talked about what you've said numerous times now here, and I'm with you 100% on board, but this is housing assistance that's purchasing this property. I'd like to go through just a routine of steps when it's an outside developer buying a property like this, because you're making some very valid points. But housing assistance has a great reputation of the area. I mean, they're in existence to try to get affordable housing, more affordable housing for people who need it. So all your points are valid.
No, I absolutely, I don't argue one iota with you about this, other than the fact that, and we're in a place, and you're in a difficult spot, and I'm not trying to kind of focus criticism about this transaction, because this was, like you say, it's unique, we pulled this one kind of out of fire. But going forward, I sense a bit of an asymmetry in our position with the people we're working with, whether it's nonprofits or profits, or profit-driven entities. And and you're making a good point about how does a landlord, or i.e. potential owner, look to the agita, that goes with affordable housing ownership and deed restrictions and things like that. So, without getting into too much more detail, but I think maybe we ought to really kind of talk further, or think a little further about how we might structure some of these things to make them more appealing to a potential investor, whether it's whoever it's going to be.
Yeah, and Alexis, if I may, I mean, you're tapping into a much bigger conversation that's happening around the Cape as we start to see more market production, often by for-profit developers who don't specialize in affordable housing deed restrictions. We just wrote a very aggressive zoning overlay district encouraging private investment in housing, with some of those units being permanently deed restricted. So yes, there has to be a mechanism for meeting those requirements in our ordinance going forward. I come from a community that before here that had inclusionary zoning requirements for a very long time. Anytime a project that had 10 units or more had to deed restrict at least one of those units in perpetuity. How does a small local developer deal with those issues? In most cases, they hired somebody like housing assistants to come in and manage that process forward, but that's extra cost. Should there be other considerations for these small developments, maybe they pay a fee in lieu up front and they don't hold the deed restriction. And then we as a trust use that money to invest in other projects. So these are the kind of conversations that I think as we're getting more and more of these sort of one-off units in smaller developments, we need to make sure we have a framework in place, because we don't want to invest in this case, we're very fortunate to have a nonprofit, experienced nonprofit. But should we sort of invest in other smaller units, which we do have an OFA out there, essentially asking developers to come to us, bring us your project, and we will help fund it and buy deed restrictions. We should make sure, again, that we have a process where if we're going to pay for them, they are not going to get lost, they are being properly monitored, et cetera. There's that whole ecosystem. So you're tapping into, I think, a very important conversation.
Yep.
Two quick things. Well, one's quick. Hack is holding the lottery for this property?
Yes, they do their own affirmative fair housing marketing lotteries. And we were told by Executive Office and Housing of Livable Communities that we can hold the two lotteries together. So they don't have to do sort of one ask for the 80 and one ask for the 120.
And this is a out of ignorance question. Does a town ever serve as a landlord?
Possible. In Eastham, their trust owns a number of units, and they have a local staff person, their housing coordinator. Part of her job description is property manager. We own a unit at 24 Old Colony.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Do they have a 24-hour telephone number?
We have a contract with the Housing Authority. They manage that property for us, so they interface with the tenant, which is how we're managing 22 Old Hill right now as well.
All right, keeping an eye on the time.
I need a roll call vote approving this declaration of surplus.
I recommend that we approve it.
That we approve the declaration of surplus?
Yes.
Just getting it for
Thank
the
you.
record. Yep.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All right,
I'm sorry, can I just? I'm sorry, so I need a motion to declare the subject property available for disposition in accordance with the substance of the provided document, and authorize staff to submit this to the central register for publication.
I'm supposed to remember all that?
you just say so moved.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Which means we are adopting the terms and that I will post it as available.
All right, by roll call, Mallory,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Yes.
Mary, and the chair votes aye. All right.
Thank you.
Purchase and sale agreement and housing deed restrictions
Will come next month.
next month. Okay, so that is July 2026. All right, item 6, review and approval of the trust response regarding Governor Prince project at the ZBA on June 24th at 7 PM. So I am going to Mallory and Fran.
Mallory did all the work on this. Mallory, please take over.
Sure.
I actually did not do the work on this. Elizabeth wrote an amazing draft, and I had no notes.
Ghostwriter.
But Mallory looked at it and has forwarded it to the board with her recommendation.
Well written.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any points you want to point out specifically, Mallory, or any other further discussion?
None from me, no.
I had two.
Mary, yep.
So it was, in the beginning, in the first paragraph, it just talks about the year-round rental housing and the 7 affordable homeownership, but does not mention the townhomes. And so so the 70 some odd is mentioned below, but it's not specifically listed in the top. So I think as long as we're saying, yes, we do want the townhomes, I think we should add that. I think the other thing that was, I think the thing that it's not specifically stated here. And let me just say, I thought it was a great letter, it's just, these are things that I think would make it stronger. Is something about the fact that, I think the big debate that we're hearing as people were kind of starting to get upset about the project was to remind everybody that the structure of the project followed the RFP that the town wrote. So it's not like we came up, it's not like the proposal that's being delivered is somehow came out of nowhere. We talk here about yes, that Orleans thought it was really important to have affordable housing. But I think if we can put something in there that says, followed the requirements of the town's RFP, just to bring that point home, I think would be really helpful.
And even going along with that, there was a feasibility committee, the Governor Prince Feasibility Committee, and that was something that a former planning board member, or maybe she's still on, that was one of the main concerns was the appearance and all of that, and so this has been, that was what, 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago?
Yes.
So this has been a conversation, and it, like you said, did not just come out of nowhere.
Right, and that project specifically asked for, the unit count to be aligned with the maximum allowed under zoning, which it is, and for it to be a low-income housing tax credit project, which it is. And I will say I had a very interesting conversation with the development team the other day, and they indicated that they had done a similar project, actually in Brewster, where they had looked at breaking the buildings down into smaller, separate buildings, much like is being requested at the zoning board now. Actually got that approved through a comprehensive permit at the Zoning Board of Appeals, submitted it to the state for funding and review, and were denied at a state level for not having an efficient enough project. So again, I think that's just great feedback in terms of the constraints that affordable housing projects face that are unlike others going forward in order to be able to obtain the sources of financing that, again, we requested as a community and that they are currently seeking.
Elizabeth, this is a real nitpick.
Yeah,
Third line
please.
from the
Yeah.
bottom, region, due skyrocketing, just put 2 in there if you would.
Yep.
Third line.
Any other questions or comments? Well,
Very well written.
thank you, Mallory and Fran and Elizabeth,
Yep.
for taking this on. And then this was continued to the June 24th ZBA meeting, which is next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, and certainly, you all are property owners, so attendance at that meeting. And again, the board is currently adjudicating, I think, the project and its appearance, its impacts on the community, versus the need it is filling in terms of housing. So I'll say that is what the zoning board is intended to look at. It would be great to have a vote on the letter.
Do I have a motion to approve the letter of support with additions?
So moved?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Right, by roll call, Mallory?
Yes.
Scott? Yes. Susan?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And chair votes aye, 7-0-0. All right. Moving on to the discussion of proposed Massachusetts rent control legislation.
Can I speak to that?
I
sent-
defer to Fran,
sent
yeah.
this stuff out. It just caught my eye, and
Yeah.
I knew it was out there, but I just think it's our place to comment on this. Personally, and I hope I can convince or help to convince the people in the room that, to agree with me, that I believe this is entirely wrong-headed. This is a recipe for a further housing disaster in Massachusetts. Nobody has explained to me how this creates more supply of houses by capping the ability of owners, owner renters, or I say the landlords to charge rent and cover their costs. Look at a place like New York City and the decades-long disaster that housing is there, where literally people are almost to the point of walking away, landlords walking away from apartments because they can't afford to have tenants, because they can't pass on their costs, and because of the glacial rate of change of turnover in rent-controlled apartments. The Fiscal Alliance Foundation points out that this is actually a more onerous ruling or formula that they're proposing, the lower of 5% of the CPI. And just think about this. A person who owns real estate and has to pay insurance, pay the plumber, they pay the plumber, they pay the insurer, they pay property taxes. They don't pay the CPI. So the CPI goes up 8% and you're capped at 5%. Well, that makes never mind to what the real costs may actually be. And we've just gone through a period of time where insurance costs have gone up for everybody. Property taxes continue to rise. I won't go on and on about that. So, Fiscal Foundation makes a long-term case. Now, this is prospective, and they feel there's a strong possibility of this, is that you really do begin to cap property values if you cap income streams. And therefore, that means the tax base doesn't grow fast enough to support the activities of local and state government. So there's so many reasons this is not a good idea. And by the way, we used to have rent control in Massachusetts, and they got rid of it in '94. And like the bad penny, it's back. And so if it was so great, why didn't we keep it? And so I think the very fact that another generation of leadership and voters said, let's get rid of it, should be a compelling reason and argument to not get near it again. And not only that, I think the sum total, we just had a little taste of the tricky aspects to being a landlord or housing that has certain income restrictions and other sorts of oversight requirements and so forth, all which create additional cost. If we want to see even fewer private investors get involved in the marketplace where we need them to help develop housing supply, pass this law, because this will be another burden for them that they'll want to run away from. And frankly, capital will leave Massachusetts to go someplace where it's treated better and where people can make a return. And that's all I've got to say. I know I'm being a little outspoken about it, but I just think this is a dumb idea and potentially disastrous. By the way, Zillow ranks Massachusetts as having the second or third highest median home price, including Hawaii and California. And the ratio of income that's required, or the ratio of I should say, housing costs to income is so high here, it puts it in maybe the top 5 or tied for top 4 most expensive in the country already. So I don't see how this makes it better. That's how I feel about this.
Thank you, Fran.
And I'll be out of this in a second. I'll leave it with a question. Should we send a sense, if we agree, should we send a sense of our views on this to the select board, to anybody? It feels like it's a conversation starter that ought to have happened already. Anyway.
Well, if I may, I do think it's important that we have this conversation. My latest understanding of the issue is that the compromise being negotiated on Beacon Hill right now is a piece of legislation that would allow communities, individual local municipalities across the state to be able to vote to opt in to rent control on a municipal level. So that is the discussion that is happening to try to keep this off the ballot, and potentially passing, again, is a legislative compromise that would allow communities to opt into rent control, caps up to 10% plus inflation.
Well, that's,
So there's a very real possibility that
That's a
this could
positive
become
and
a
a negative.
local issue by July 1st.
I would hope that our government, local government, would think real hard about voting in favor of opting into this. So I would,
And again, that has not passed, but that as of the beginning of the month was the conversation. I think the legislature stays in session, or the deadline is July 1st. We're obviously
well, it sounds like
very
this is
close to
still a
that.
work in progress to some degree, and we
Yes.
should be really on top of this.
So I
and
believe-
ready to
yeah.
talk about it further.
Yeah, that was gonna be my recommendation, is that, you know, this, especially because I imagine this is a ballot initiative for 2028, 2027? What year are we in?
Would be this November, right?
Oh, it's 2026, sorry. So, especially, you know, once July 1 hits and those campaigns really start. So maybe you all will have this as a monthly standing agenda item of progress of the House and Senate and, you know, another office that I'm forgetting.
Yes, all of them.
So maybe that, but thank you, Fran, for bringing this to our attention, because, you know, it applies to exactly what we're working on.
I did find a longer piece which goes through all of your arguments, Housing for Massachusetts. I'm happy to share that with everybody. I think I sent it to you this morning. And it goes through all the things you're talking about in terms of the pricing, the disinvestment, all the research programs, research studies that have been done on Cambridge and other towns, that this is just not a particularly great idea. So I'm happy to send that to the rest of the committee.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
I agree.
Go ahead,
Alexis.
Mallory.
I just wanted to say I reached out to an old colleague at CDP to see if they had put out a statement about this, because I thought that would be really interesting and relevant for us to know. And they haven't yet, because of how they feel it's going to affect the Cape different than the rest of the state. I do love the idea of having a continued conversation, seeing where the compromise gets there, but also I was reading a lot today and I want to read a lot more, but also carefully and not necessarily looking through my personal lens, but through the lens of how this affects affordable housing specifically. And I just want to make sure we keep that at the front of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
I think moving forward, we keep it on the list like you're saying, because the budget could have a huge impact here once that gets approved. And right now, the Mass state budget is an interesting process moving forward. So let's see how that plays out.
Great. Any other comments before we move to item 8? All right. All right, board reorganization and roles. We have 3 positions, clerk, vice chair, and chair, and I am going to start with nominations for clerk.
Are we just diving into this? Is there any discussion?
Is this the kind of thing when someone steps forward and everybody else steps back?
Well, I know we do have some changes. Alexis, this is your last meeting with us, is that correct?
This is my last meeting.
Okay,
Is,
7 years.
7 years.
I'm the
Original
last,
member,
I
right?
am the only last original board member.
Wow, last original of the originally appointed trust.
Yeah.
Wow.
The OG from January of 2019.
I think you can petition for a longer term limit.
They have given me any and all extra.
Okay.
regarding the clerk position, I mean, I'm sitting here taking the notes because Jennifer's not here and I am technically the
Clerk.
backup clerk, I guess. Is Jennifer gonna continue coming to meetings?
Yes, she's a paid employee.
Oh, okay.
No, Jennifer is retiring as of July.
Okay. We have a paid employee, I should say.
We don't have a paid employee.
Well, we have a paid employee position.
We do not have a paid employee position.
Okay.
We pay Jennifer, who serves actually 4 different boards and committees
Correct.
in varying capacities. Everything from being just a minute taker to providing more advanced support, which she provides this board. Going forward, they are not going to sort of recreate Jen's position. We will have a contracted individual who will do our minutes going forward.
Who's
but-
they are not going to approve?
Pardon?
Who's they are not going to approve? You said they are not.
And not approve or not approve, but because of the, I think, just maybe the way Jennifer's position evolved over time. Again, I don't think she works in any particular department or for any particular department. She is not, my understanding is she is not like a full-time staff member of the town. So there's not really a position to be filled or not filled, there. We do have, there will be an individual who will take minutes remotely and provide those minutes to the board going forward. But I will be the one who will be doing agenda prep and posting, going forward.
So my understanding is we still need a clerk.
Still need a clerk.
Yes.
Who would be, again,
Well,
available.
I would volunteer to be a clerk again. I have another year on the board.
Right. So we have one nomination.
Nominate myself.
Any other nominations for clerk?
Perfect.
All right, shall we vote? All those in favor of Susan taking on the clerk role again for us? We have to vote, Mallory,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Susan,
Yes?
Tom,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Chair votes aye for one of the last times. All right, 7-0-0. All right, vice chair.
I would like to nominate Fran.
We have a nomination on the table. Fran, do you accept or decline?
I would accept.
Okay.
That's why I wanted you to make sure you could make it. No, sorry.
We are live. We are live on Twitch. For all 7 of our viewers. So we have a nomination. Any other nominations for vice chair? All right, seeing none, we will vote. Mallory,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Tom, Fran,
Aye.
and Mary.
Aye.
All right, and chair votes aye.
Quick question, about,
There's no hazing.
it's too
We're
late.
changing that. We decided, yes, the select board decided we had to have hazing. Sorry.
It's a new policy.
With regards to Jennifer, was there ever any discussion about her maybe just continuing as a contract arrangement with this committee? Is that viable? I mean, because she knows so much about how it works and, anyway.
Yes, I think that would be a question for the town manager's office. Again, she does not report to the planning department.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the type of thing if if the town thought it was a good idea, then she would be invited to, they'd work out an arrangement with her.
I think we've spoken to Jennifer a number of times about
Oh, really?
about the desire to have her continue.
And she's said no, or, oh,
That's
anyway.
a conversation for offline.
But yes, we
So
can,
it's not a closed issue, is it that?
it is not my issue to open or close.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Offline,
think,
Fran.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's gonna be an offline
Good comment,
conversation.
Alexis.
All right.
fine, thanks.
All right, so now we are moving on to the chair. Any nominations for chair?
I nominate Tom Drakowski.
Tom, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right, any other nominations?
Second the nomination.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mallory?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom? Fran,
Aye.
and Mary. And this chair votes aye. Congratulations.
Thank you, I think.
All right. Any other roles that we need to talk about?
I'd like to just say thank you again for you being the original member. You can talk about it at the end of the meeting, but that's something to be said, that you stuck with it through the thick and thin over, since the group has been organized. So Alexis, thank you for your outstanding effort. The town really owes you big time for your effort here.
Thank you, Tom, that's very kind.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question about, you know, we merged the trust and the Affordable Housing Committee.
Mhm.
Where does that stand, and are we just forever kind of merged and we don't
My-
have to deal with that?
My understanding is that there have been no applications for the Affordable Housing Committee for membership because it still stands as a committee. It hasn't been dissolved. There have been no further applications for that committee.
So are we still listed as Affordable Housing Committee?
No, you're members of the trust.
We're members of the trust?
You may, I would not be surprised if you are still listed as committee members, given that that committee was not sunsetted or dissolved. It was just,
But you are, I mean, like,
Just
you
laying
are
fallow,
on our
yeah,
records as well.
correct.
You are fully members. You're not like liaisons or anything like
Right,
that. You're
right.
fully members of this. But yes, that is my understanding, that there have been no applications for that committee. But,
I'd like to just bring up, Fran had.
hold on one second. Go ahead, Scott.
Clarification, what does no applications mean?
That the select board has not received any application, like you apply to be on a committee and you come before the select board and express your interest.
I understand, well, yeah, it's kind of hard to apply for it from commission.
Well, but I'm saying, like, you could
Committee
though.
to be on.
Stranger things have happened.
That's the truth.
Trying to collect money, right?
Um,
Oh, dear. Okay.
someone had a question, then I'll come to you, Mallory. Yes.
Fran brought to our attention, and I spoke with someone this week, Alexis, that is, I think, gonna apply for the Affordable Housing Trust Board to be one of we have 2 open positions, I believe.
We have
you are a
2 open positions.
7 to 9 member board. You're unique in that your maximum membership flows.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I hope-
7. Actually, no, you're gonna be 6. So there will be 3 open positions, because I'm terming off.
And I think we officially got Maria's resignation.
Yes, she-
accepted.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm supposed to do this in open form, but my life is changing somewhat, and it is more likely than not that, 2 months, I'm going to retire myself
Okay.
from the board.
We are sad to see you go.
Let's
Sorry
chat.
to, yeah. We'll touch base.
Okay, I didn't know I just thought while we were talking
Yeah.
about the.
I just want to keep an eye. Go ahead, Mallory.
Tides that the.
Just for me online, 2 things. I actually did apply for the housing committee because I didn't know that it wasn't even meeting anymore. And then they told me it's not meeting, so they prompted me to the board, just so that we're clear. Happy to be on the trust, but just in case anyone does apply, that's the message they're getting.
Gotcha.
And then secondly, Scott, I can't hear you on here, and I would love to hear what you just had to share.
Oh, you need a
Grab a mic.
microphone.
Need a microphone, Scott.
I'm sorry, it's just the kind of thing you want to necessarily repeat, but my life is changing business-wise, and within the next month or 2 months, I'm likely to resign my position on the trust.
All right. Yes,
Just
Susan.
related, I know the time, but related to recruiting new members, where do we stand, Elizabeth, with that kind of recruitment card that you put together that was so
Yes.
cool?
Yes,
Could be.
we did put together a recruitment card. I apologize, I forgot to put that as an agenda item. But Susan and I were collaborating on just a general, what is the trust? What kind of good do we do? How to get more information. So I have a draft of that we can circulate for the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right,
'cause we
perfect. I'll
could,
add that
you know,
to items for future agenda.
So Alexis, just one more question here, before you bow out, and we got Elizabeth and Mary here. What is the process is there a percentage of meetings you have to meet person versus just going online.
No.
So if we had someone that lives in Florida for 3 months out of the year, that's okay for them to be on the team as long as they're.
You do, you have to be a resident of Orleans, so you have to be
Right.
registered to vote here, but yes, it's
I-
not
I-
uncommon.
but
They
they're-
can be a snowbird, yes, they can be a snowbird as long as they are a resident of Orleans.
That's huge, okay, thank you.
All right, any other item or points of discussion on item 8? All right, item 9, brief review of previous workshop and objectives on the 10-year housing plan priorities.
Gosh, yeah, so I'm not really sure where to jump back in. I think, given, I mean, I defer to you all.
Can I suggest
Go for it.
we defer that to the next meeting? I think we're gonna go for a while on this topic. It's just my thoughts on how you guys feel about that. Every time we start, you get cut off at the knees and we're out of time. It's just not fair.
Yes, and we did talk about me providing you a deliverable, which I did not put in your packet. So we can revisit that and come back to that.
Is that okay with everybody? That we'll postpone to the July meeting.
Thank you.
Item 9.
And I'd love for that to be the main,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
just not fair. We keep making the list
I know,
bigger
the
and bigger.
best intentions
Yeah.
to get all this good stuff in. Hopefully.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I do think as a new board, and we're obviously, it sounds like we're gonna have some new members, thinking about what, we do need to continue to have this conversation about what this board's priorities are gonna be, going forward. And that was good progress on that.
Thank you guys for that work. So that is being postponed. Item 10, collaboration and convening, feedback from stakeholders. Per Ms. Jenkins, are we going to for this or postpone to July?
Feedback from stakeholders per Ms. Jenkins. I'm trying to recall what this
We
agenda item.
weren't sure exactly, the notes that I wrote here in terms of who should be invited to be part of the roundtable.
Oh, per the roundtable
In
specifically.
the process, and you were gonna do a little more digging to see.
Yes, so I had some conversations, again, and that's sort of reflected in the second bullet, with town leadership about just sort of getting the green light, letting them know that we had this intention to do this, convening, very much on board, very much almost wanting to see it bigger and expanded into something that they're calling a community development roundtable. So as topics sort of wax and wane, there's the ability to be able to focus boards and committees together. But I think the overriding purpose is the same, again, to make sure that we are aligning the priorities of those boards and commissions with the select board's priorities, as well as having the work that we're doing feed into each other and forward and keep things moving forward. I know we have talked about deferring this to the fall, which I think is fine. A little bit of a missed opportunity because we are working with the planning board right now to bring updates, sort of a second round of modernization updates to zoning going forward. And we, as reflected in our housing plan, I think thinking about zoning as it relates to housing is an incredibly important piece and one that this group should be part of that discussion on. So we might not call it a housing roundtable, but I do think some convening around a potential zoning warrant article in the fall would make a lot of sense. And then we can sort of formalize the housing roundtable as we've talked about in the fall. Again, I would start with the core recommendations that are in our housing plan, boards that have a function that specifically includes housing. And that group we've talked about, again, obviously the trust being the lead member, and then the planning board, the architectural review committee, the CPC, and zoning board of appeals. And I think we had talked about finance. I will say in the context of this discussion and also sort of feeding into the housing trust and housing committee, I believe the select board is currently working towards, at their perhaps July meeting, starting a process in which they are going to review all of the committee charges make sure those committee charges are aligned with the select board strategic plan, and recommend adjustments to those in the fall going forward. And I know Affordable Housing Committee is very high on that list. So certainly any, I think, thoughts or comments from this board. I think I've certainly learned that the Affordable Housing Committee had a very strong and somewhat independent purpose from this group. But I think if we can establish this housing roundtable in a regular, even if they're not a standing committee, I think if we can all be committed to convening that group going forward, we can start to achieve some of those objectives that the Affordable Housing Committee was intended to make: education, advocacy, et cetera. So it would be the intention to essentially have that group sort of fulfill some of that education and advocacy purpose. In addition to, I think, some of the volunteer work that Susan has been leading, and I know I haven't had too much of a chance to connect with Mallory, but she also volunteered as a member to help forward some of those initiatives.
Excellent, yeah, Susan.
It's interesting, when I attended the CDP peer group meeting last week, I think it was, and where people from, all the different towns in the area kind of report on what's happening, what's not happening, frustrations, strategies. And one of the things that came up very strongly was the CDP, along with many towns, saying people are tired, are weary of affordable housing, of hearing that term. And we are going to launch initiatives calling it community development or economic development. Subsume housing into sort of sustainable communities. It's interesting. The CDP is going to come out with some material that's really pushing that.
Yes, and I think there is perhaps totally independently, a move afoot here to do something similar.
Why?
A lot.
Politics, or is it?
Well, yeah,
you know,
some of it's
a
always
fashionable
politics,
comment?
but, there was a lot of discussion about how, people are weary of hearing certain language and terms, and kind of like, we have enough affordable housing, or we drive around and we see affordable housing going up in all of our towns, and why are we still talking about this? And even though some towns aren't as far along as we are in terms of meeting that 10%, right? But, so part of it is political, part of it is just messaging, how we communicate a need in a way that's a little bit more broad-based. And if you don't have a good economy, you can't have housing for people, and if you don't have housing for people, you can't have a good economy. And what makes for sustainable communities? We can't live in a community if we don't have people working in restaurants and fire stations and schools. And so, a little bit more broad-based, I think, was the thought behind that.
Yeah, and I've been working in housing and affordable housing for a long time. This conversation is one that I think happens regularly about how to make sure your messaging is aligned with the very sort of human need that we're striving to meet here. It's easy to lose track of that when you just start to use buzzwords like affordable or attainable.
It's kind of like, I think they use the term crisis weary.
Yeah, yeah.
Mallory?
I just really appreciate your comments, Susan. I think this is a really important conversation. I hope we keep it going. Like, I've been preaching this message for years. When I worked for a statewide organization in New York, we had a whole worldview team. So they were able to test people. And like, for example, for a long time, they stopped saying affordable housing and they started saying low cost, high quality, and people responded to it. So I really hope this can be on a future agenda, because this is a great conversation we could be having.
Okay, so coming full circle, I think let's all plan for sort of a September initial convening of a housing roundtable. Again, who is the convener, I think is less important as, and just taking that don't overthink this initial meeting. Just put those groups in the room together, talk about the objectives that we're all seeking to fulfill and the purpose of the roundtable going forward. And then from there, try to make sure that we are making good use of that time and that convening, and trying to focus it around specific projects or initiatives, especially as directed by the select board.
Are you thinking maybe having like 2 members from each committee?
That's a great question. I mean, I think,
Is, you
much like the chair, the chairs meeting in a way feels like a little exclusive. I think asking for 2 representatives would be great, but I think if folks want to be in the room, we should encourage that.
Yeah. I think it's also a way to take something like a concept like housing, which has been very exclusive, right, and make even the conversation more inclusive without getting, as someone who's specifically has a hard time with so many different voices all at once.
Yeah.
And the repetition of certain things so many different times, like, I think that something that we do, even in like contract negotiations for the schools, is you can have silent observers. So you can have members, like you have elected negotiators, but then there are silent observers who are in the room who can ask questions. They don't get into conversation with the negotiators, but they are aware of what's going on. So, I'm not trying to silence anybody by any means, but it's just a way to have an efficient gathering of people with also people being involved.
I mean, worst case scenario, we cross post, all the boards that are
Right.
coming, in case we get a quorum.
Sorry, clerk's department.
I mean, we could have official alternates,
Yeah.
which I think makes sense, because
That's
if
what I'm
someone
kinda thinking.
can't be
That's what I
there.
meant to say, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Okay.
But I'm just thinking, it's, what you're describing is sort of fishbowl concept, where there are people who are sort of supposed to be there to talk about stuff, but you have all the people around helping to provide additional
Does that make
information.
sense?
But I'm just thinking the facilitation of this and sort of the goals, that's what's gonna be really critical.
Okay.
Figure out how to do that right.
Right. Absolutely. And, I think let's get feedback, right? Let's not try to dictate that at the outset, but try to, again, convene these groups in the spirit of traditional housing partnerships. Again, making sure all folks are all rowing in the same direction. I think
Sure.
certainly if you were at the last zoning board of appeals meeting, you saw there were some disconnects.
Same with CPC, all of that. Yeah. Susan?
I wonder if the convener of the roundtable should be an unattached person, like a moderator. I mean, someone who,
Like a staff
I mean, I don't think you should be in that role
I
real-
disagree.
necessarily. You disagree?
Yeah, I think for the initial, to get everybody to have a conversation, like you said, that's flowing in the same area, I think someone with that
Okay.
critical knowledge would be necessary.
It can be hard to participate actively and moderate
That's
at
what
the
I was
same
thinking.
time. So yes, having another voice in the room, is not a bad idea.
Yeah, sorry to critique it. Once it gets going, I think you might be right, having an independent party, but to get it going and get
Yeah.
I think this person has to be very knowledgeable about all the moving parts. That's why I think I would highly,
Facilitate the
Yeah,
beginning.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But having someone like Mark Reel from the town
Yeah.
manager's office, sort of sit at the table and do that as well, I think.
It's kind of
Right.
need to put more on your plate, although I think it would be kind of an exciting role.
Yeah, I mean, again, like to Mary's point, I think we are I think it's a great opportunity, like, to be able to think about how to integrate boards together to make progress on specific projects. Like, that to me is very, very exciting and something in a town government environment you don't see happen as often as it should.
Awesome. Any further discussion on item 10? All right. Item 11, governance and capacity building, training and onboarding, and monthly meeting structure.
Yeah, so, again, I sort of defer to Tom. We talked about some of that last time in terms of how to make our meetings more efficient, how to sort of, we sort of started to talk about how to, like, assign board members to particular projects. I know Fran is gonna work with me going forward on sort of evaluation of town property. Susan has been, really taking the lead on helping move forward this idea of a housing resource fair collaboratively with Brewster. So I think that's the thinking there, and defer to board members on.
Alexis, I don't know if you had a chance to see our last meeting's video, but a lot of the team members, I thought, made some excellent comments about wanting to take ownership of certain
sure.
topics, so, and I totally agree with that. So, okay, we can, why doesn't everybody think about an area they might like to take ownership of, and maybe at the next meeting, we'll definitely put that on the agenda as well. So I think that's a very, very important subject.
Susan?
Regarding training, I wonder, should we at some point talk about any vehicle for everyone on this trust board having the same base of understanding and training around affordable and attainable housing? In other words, like some of the programs that CDP runs, or other videos, or other information, or, we all come on the board and kind of try and get up to speed in different ways, but I don't think we've ever really talked about, to be on this board, we would want this kind of training. And so we all have a common language and common background, as opposed to sort of just assuming, oh, I know what that acronym means, or I know what you're talking about, and I don't really want to say anything because I'm not, the experience of not just new board members, but.
Susan, I'm sorry, it sounded like I'm trying to defer everything here, and I want to move
No.
ahead, and I'm not. It's not to sound like I was being too aggressive here, but I'm meeting with Amanda next week with the CDP on this subject right here.
Good.
How can we just improve the quality of education? I applied for CHAPA, I think I told you, everybody, the leadership group out of Boston, and I didn't get selected. I was very disappointed, and I left an editorial comment for CHAPA, and they got back to me and said, Tom, we really wanted you to be part of the group. However, we think there's such a need on Cape Cod that we are gonna work with the CDP, put a program together in 2027. So pretty cool that they're gonna put training together to help members of all of us here on the Cape. And I asked Amanda, given, you've said this now several meetings, I totally respect and appreciate you bringing that up. In the last meeting, several other people said, there's so much we need to learn yet. So I think you're spot on, and maybe just give me, literally, a meeting with her on Monday
Great.
on this subject. Okay, thanks.
Okay, excellent.
Any other discussion on item 11?
We talked, sorry, there was a mention last meeting about, we moved the meeting to a Thursday versus Tuesday, and there was, I don't know if we came to any kind of definitive solution to that. I mean, does anyone prefer the third Thursday? Did you look to see, is this room available the third Thursday?
It is available, yes, but I completely defer to the board. Thursday, I think, is a much better day for me, both personally and professionally.
On
But you all, on Thursday, but you all signed on with the expectation that this was gonna be a Tuesday meeting, so I
Can we just go to
completely
Alexis
defer.
and get everyone's,
Absolutely.
Mallory, can you give us your thoughts on that?
I'm flexible, so doesn't matter to me.
But it doesn't matter to me, but I think if it matters to Elizabeth, that should be.
So you don't have a preference, just so I make sure I get, okay, Susan?
I think that's okay. The third Thursday of the month?
Yes. Well, I'm just trying to make sure everybody, so I'm fine with that as well.
I'm okay.
I have no standing conflicts that I know of. That I know of.
I
right.
greatly appreciate the accommodation. Yes, I'm
I wish you had
often-
said something
Yeah.
earlier.
No, it's fine. You make it work, but
Time
as
saving the
as
day.
roles and responsibilities change, you have to make sure you stay in balance.
Because Thursday works better for me, too.
No.
You wanna come on board? You come on the team?
I've been rushing from staff meetings to this every,
no. All right, yeah.
for all these years.
Another 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We fixed all the problems, yeah.
Do you have to make that official then, or?
So it, you know, for our community, viewers, be on the lookout for a change coming in July, that we are hoping to be approved for third Thursday of the month, 4:30 in the Nauset room. All the Zoom links and everything will stay the same, but to be, you know,
To be confirmed.
to be confirmed with the clerk's office.
Is there a certain amount of advance notice we need to?
48 hours.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're
Never
just
works.
post a meeting 48 hours before, yep.
Okay.
But to your point, to the community who tune in and expect
Yeah,
to
that's fine.
see a certain schedule.
Okay.
All right, moving on to matters arising and future agenda items. Right now, for the notes, for the July agenda, I have, the recruitment card that Susan and Elizabeth worked on. I have item 9 on the workshop and objectives, and then, item 11 in terms of training and onboarding.
So we'll have ongoing discussion and updates on rent control.
Oh, yes, thank you.
We'll have we'll see where we're at, but I'll definitely have a package for you on 22, hopefully have a package for you on 22 Old Tote. And we can start to revisit some of those trust board priorities.
What was your number 3? I'm sorry.
Recruitment card, item 9, and then item 11, training and onboarding.
Got it, sorry.
Yep.
And we'll do, Susan, updates on the housing resource fair.
Housing resource fair, rent control, Old Tote.
I'm assuming I'm taking the minutes.
Jennifer
No,
did say she was going to watch the video, because
Oh,
that is a
okay.
great,
He would do it, yeah.
yep.
Okay,
Were you watching?
good. She sends them to me to review. Actually, we have some pretty good notes.
It's voice.
Well, that's what I mean. What I'm saying is that we already have a method that we're,
That's not recorded. Like not,
it's not accepted.
no, I mean, you could use the transcript and then edit it, but it's a lot easier to just do bullets.
Really?
I mean, as someone who was the clerk for a
No,
little
I'm
while.
just wondering that.
Yeah,
that,
and then you
that
just
somebody
edit.
who's
Yeah.
gonna act as clerk, whether it's this
Oh,
third party or whether it's Susan, would just go to that.
I'm not sure. That will be a question for Peggy.
AI-generated transcript.
The transcript, I believe, is, I don't know. That would be a question for you. I don't want to say.
All right. Any other
I think down the road, you're
Agenda.
probably right, so.
items?
We won't even have to come to the meeting.
Well, before, item 13 adjournment, I just want to thank all of you. Like was mentioned earlier, this is my last meeting, and I've been with this board from the beginning, and I just want to truly thank all of you and all of the work that the town staff has done, along with all of our community partners and volunteers, because we are in such a different place in Orleans than we were when I stood up at town meeting in 2018, and to advocate for a group like this. And all the credit goes to everybody who has served, past and present, on this committee. And it's been a big part of my life, and it will continue to be a part of my life, but now more as I sit on the sidelines. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Best of luck. You are in amazing hands here. And
Did I tell you we have
All
two
credit to you.
openings still on the team?
yeah, I don't know, that might be a hard sell to the select board.
All credit to you for standing up.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thanks.
So without further ado, at 6:04, I'm going to take a motion to adjourn. We do have to have a roll call vote. Motion to adjourn.
I move.
Moved and seconded by roll. Mallory,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Aye.
Tom, Fran,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and for the last time, chair votes aye.